If we don't have heavy weapons, how can we defend ourselves? How can we fight against one of the strongest armies in the world? Our military, our people, soldiers are stronger than the Russian Federation. But they have a lot more weapons. Heavy weapons will give us an opportunity to talk with them at the negotiation table.
Ukrainian President Zelensky pleading for more weapons in his fight against Putin's brutal invasion. As we learn, the U.S. will reportedly help transfer Soviet-made tanks to Ukraine. Republican Senator and Armed Services Committee member and U.S. Army combat vet Joni Ernst is here to react. Senator, thanks so much for being here. On the issue of weapons, you were part of a bipartisan group that sent a letter to Jake Sullivan asking for specifics. What are we sending? How many? Do we have a sense, in the U.S. Senate of what kind of aid we're providing right now?
Well, this is where, Pete, we need the oversight, and it's extremely important that we continue communicating with DOD as well as the National Security Advisor to the President to find out exactly what is being provided. The Ukrainians are asking for equipment. They need everything in their toolbox to push back against the Russians. We have yet to be provided that information. We did have a secure call with Jake Sullivan, the National Security Advisor, but we don't have specific numbers in front of us available to Congress so that we have proper oversight of what's being transferred.
Senator, is there an argument that it should remain confidential, strategically ambiguous? Maybe we don't want to make that public? Or is this something in a time of war Congress deserves to know, even if in a classified setting? And then on top of that, is it bureaucratic red tape that could be holding it up, or could there be an intentional reason to hold it up?
Well, I hope it is not intentional, but certainly we do need to keep it secret, what is being transferred. And that's why we've asked to have those numbers provided to us in a classified setting. So those senators, those congressmen that would like to have oversight, would like to know and understand what is being transferred, can actually go and view those numbers and types of equipment. But again, the bottom line is that Ukraine has been asking for additional equipment, not just from the United States, but also from our NATO partners. And we should be stepping up and providing them. We want to make sure that they win this war, and they can win this war if they are provided with the proper equipment.
We've certainly seen the Russians have to change their calculus, abandoning effectively the attempt to take Kiev and moving over to the east and south. Let me move back home here, Senator, if I can. We've spent billions, trillions on COVID relief money, yet it sounds like the Senate is closing in on $10 billion more for COVID. I just think that strikes a lot of people as, really, at this point, there's still a lot of COVID money unspent.
Yes, absolutely. And that's the concern that many of us have, is that we have spent really billions and trillions of dollars on COVID recovery. So these dollars would be repurposed dollars out of the American Rescue Plan. They should go to COVID therapeutics, but we need transparency. And that's one thing that has been lacking through this process. And if this should pass through the Senate and through the House, I want to make sure that there is transparency, that not only can we see how those dollars are being spent, but the public can, and that the dollars that are being reallocated only go to COVID and not other pet projects coming from the left.
Senator, it feels like there already hasn't been a lot of transparency on the billions and trillions already spent. That graphic we just put up showed that the Democrat proposal is $25 billion. The Republican is $10 billion. The question I would ask is, why isn't the GOP proposal $0 billion after all we've spent?
Exactly. And that is the argument as well, is that there are so many dollars that exist out there remaining already for COVID assistance that maybe these dollars should go right back to the taxpayers. So maybe, yes. So a lot of discussion is going on currently in the Senate about this. But again, transparency, and if those packages should pass, then it should only be for COVID relief and not for other things that the left wants to do.
One can hope. Senator Joni Ernst, thanks for your insight. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Pete.
You got it.